I am honored and humbled to moderate, to have this session. A couple of words about myself. Yes, I run two funds. The first one is AAL VC. This is the US fund, Engineers for Engineers fund, to be invest alongside with NVIDIA, Khosla, Yango Ventures, and other great guys into like sophisticated tech software. And we have a couple of Armenian companies in our portfolio, including TenWeb, including PortfoLion, including Netris. And the second fund I'm managing right now is Yango Ventures. It's a corporate venture fund of Yango Group. And this fund is focused on emerging markets like Africa, Latin America, MENA PB, and Central Asia. Previously, I worked for Yandex. I used to work as CMO, and I started Yandex Hub here in Armenia. And when I moved to Armenia from Russia in 2022, I was amazed how actually developed VC infrastructure, because today we are talking about VC infrastructure, how developed venture capital infrastructure and venture capital communities is here, and how developed is banking sector and banking services are here in Armenia. So I would like to invite and today we will talk about infrastructure, VC infrastructure, how to support this growth, how to support those achievements, and how to overcome some obstacles. And I would like to invite to this stage Manuk Hergnyan, a managing partner of Granatus Ventures. Manuk, please. Granatus Ventures is, one of their pioneering funds here in Armenia. The firm which is behind the success of Super Annotate, Solidon, Code Signal, Blue Qubit, and a couple of other companies. So thank you for coming. The next panelist is Vardanyan. Karen is co-founder and general partner of Formula VC, and we co-invested in TenWeb. We unfortunately missed EZD Mark, and I believe that as of right now, this is the most successful. Of course, all of your children's beloved, but in terms of returns, this is the biggest success as of right now. So congratulations and congratulations with the second fund. This is not every fund manager is able to start the second fund successfully, and yeah, congrats.
Thank you.
The third panelist is Daniel Chris Kirali. Daniel? Yeah, hey. Daniel works for PortfoLion Capital Partners. This is one of the largest European funds with more than 500 million USD under management, and a couple of beautiful exits, like Banzai Cloud to Cisco, or Trescent, which was acquired by SwissPost. So thank you, and your experience is very valuable to accelerate Armenian VC ecosystem. Our fourth panelist is Dr. Suren Pakhchanyan. Suren. Suren represents Inecobank and is covering all the topics which is related to risks. And VC is also about not only about picking the right companies and not only about supporting top performers, but also about managing risks. So, and we will cover this topic for sure. Yeah. So let's get it started. And the first topic, the first question I would like to ask you: what do we exactly mean saying VC infrastructure? So what do we include in this? How we define it? So, Manuk, since you are a pioneer in this field here in Armenia.
Oh, okay. First of all, thank you very much for putting together this session. I think we have to distinguish two types of infrastructure. One is operating infrastructure, the second is ecosystem that helps VC operate. In terms of the operating infrastructure, you basically have fund administration, lawyers, legal support, etc. I guess Armenia has yet to develop and have more sophisticated operating infrastructure. Particularly, I would like to highlight specialized fund administrators, because there are no specialized fund administrators in Armenia, while in more advanced ecosystems, these are very sophisticated companies with sophisticated service providers. In Armenia, it's basically you have accountants that are covering some aspects of fund administration and also some lawyers covering that, and then some internal also staff covering aspects of fund administration. However, I don't think this is the major constraint for the ecosystem to develop. And in terms of the tech ecosystem that provides an environment where VCs operate and thrive, I guess Armenia advanced quite significantly since the beginning of the kind of a risk capital industry, 10, 12 years ago. We have quite diversified ecosystem now with all of the angel networks, incubators, accelerators, legal firms that are supporting that. However, there's still the depth needs to be added to that. While we have all the requisite kind of players, we still have they're not. For example, they're not specialized incubator, they're not specialized accelerator. So the depths mean more specialization. The depths need more volume and the capital available. So we're still in early stages of developing more deeper and more robust ecosystem.
Thank you so much. And Karen, what is your view on the infrastructure, and what do you think? Where is Armenia strongest today, and what is the biggest point, the biggest part to fix?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with Manuk, about infrastructure and where we are in terms of developments. I would add to that, in terms of especially funds and fund legislation, investment fund legislation, Armenia stands in quite is well positioned in terms of how fast you can register a fund, how easy it is to
a month, right?
Officially it's 2 weeks.
Okay.
Even less than that. Usually it takes at least a month for the guys to go back and forth with questions and register it final. In terms of costs, it costs you around $100. That's the state fee that you pay for registering a fund. Versus if you look at other legislations, it's maybe 100 times more. And
in UAE, it's around $500,000.
Yeah, you see. So, but for example, there with all these like advancement, there is another limitation that as a private fund, you can have only 49 investors, which is quite a limiting factor in terms of how much capital you can, take into the fund, how big it can be, etc., etc. But there we also have some developments, and recently one of these discussions was about to increase the number at least to 100, like 99, which will, I think, accelerate this, capital intake much more, because in Armenia, from investors' perspective of view, we do not have really much of like specialized fund of funds. Like family offices are not there. So usually you take some private money, and especially from VC's perspective, and it's really essential to have some specific knowledge in the VC from the LP side as well. That's why, for example, in our fund, most of these individual investors are coming from tech. So they are like tech executives, they are founders, they are angel investors, etc., etc. And sometimes you need just, even if it is very small check, you need that guy to be in your fund. But that guy is burning a seat. So if he's there, you cannot take, next one. So that's a problem. That's why you have to be able to, have many kind of chairs so that everyone will be there and, everyone is satisfied. I think that's the main challenge that we are facing at the moment.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And Daniel, from your perspective, through your optics, what do you see the biggest challenge and the biggest advantage of Armenian VC infrastructure?
Yeah, so I don't think I have spent enough time in the ecosystem to see the challenges, but I definitely see the positive parts of it. So I think it was roughly a year ago when I first visited the ecosystem, and I think an important part of the VC infrastructure, which we haven't touched on, is kind of like the STEM education, and then all the NGOs like UATE that are in place. And for me, I was blown away by how active the whole market is, even though it flies still under the radar of most of the Eastern and Western European funds, I believe. So I think where Armenia, for me, seems to be the strongest and the most exciting is the tech talent that you're developing here, and who decide to stay and build something here in Armenia. I think that is a super important part of the infrastructure, and that is something that I am personally super excited about.
Thanks so much, and yeah, we're all happy to hear it. Your excitement. It's a good sign for us all. And Suren, what do you think, and how banks and other, let's say, traditional financial institutions can participate into this VC movement, and what opportunities do you see here for both parties, and what risks, since you are expert on risk side of financial business. So please share your thoughts.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think banks can play a very catalytic role in developing Armenian startup and venture capital infrastructure.
A bit loud, please.
Is here better? It's better now? Okay. So I think, as I mentioned, banks can play a very good and important role in financing startups and venture capitals, but I think there are three key points we should pay attention. First is that we need a blend in financing. This means a little bit public, a little bit private equity, and then banks debt part. So to be able to do this, there could be created, for example, an investment or governmental fund that supports this, gives guarantees in some areas because they are very risky, the startups and this ecosystem. The second point is the banks normally grant credits or to the companies they can assess. So this means for startups to be able to get money before...
Bit closer, please.
Okay, to get money from the banks that need to do their homework as well. They need to have governance, they need to have data, they need to have risk management, etc. So this means that banks should be able to assess the company at some stage to feel comfortable to give them money. The third one is more regulatory perspective. So the banks are working in a very regulatory environment. So this means when we talk about startups and venture financing, we should keep in mind that there are a lot of capital restriction, collateral restriction, etc. So this means that the government or central banks also should support this environment, making it more local, making it more easier, the requirements, etc. for the banks to operate in this area. So that all these three combined will be wonderful possibility for banks also to participate. But as I mentioned, I mean, it should be like public guarantees or something like this. It should be a flexible risk environment from the regulatory perspective, and there should be all these three together to be able to, for banks to ease, and then also for the startups to do their homework, for the banks to be accessible.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Very clear and very reasonable. I also want to add from my Yango Venture experience. So in like many countries, or let's say emerging markets, banks also play like a significant role in to other fields. The first field is like providing rails for fintech companies. And there are a lot of, actually half of the companies I'm going through right now on emerging markets are like fintech companies. And most of the companies, or if not all of those companies, are built on top of like traditional financial infrastructure, let's say, on top of banks. And they are like lending providers for SMEs or like trans-border payments solutions, and this is one area. And since Armenia banks are so digitalized, and actually you are more digitalized than banks in many other places in the world. I believe that it's a great opportunity for both sides. I mean, for fintech companies and for like traditional financial institutions like banks. And the second opportunity, I believe, is debt financing. So we see a lot of debt financed. They are also mostly fintech companies. They do like working capital financing, but they are also built on top of traditional financial institutions like banks. So, do you consider something like, I mean, to include into your strategy those two? Do you discuss it internally? If you can share your internal discussion with us.
I mean, we are definitely open for all the possibilities. As a bank, as you mentioned, we are a very digital bank, so we are very supportive of any idea. But as I mentioned, it's very important to be compliant with regulation, etc. And the regulatory environment is very strict against the banks. So in case we want to do debt financing, etc., it's difficult for the banks in case there are no public guarantees or from support from public, like governmental created equities or something. But on the other hand, I think it's very important for the startups as well, when we will be doing financing, etc., not only to prioritize the scale at the growth at any costs. The good example is N26 in Germany. They created like they got a lot of customers, like million customers within very short time period, 2-3 years, and they were restricted to do any new business over 2-3 years and have to spend more than 120 million for having compliance, risk and regulation, etc. because they were growing at any cost. They didn't have really good KYC, etc. So what I'm saying is the banks are doing assessment of the customers. They are investing very careful, and they have very advanced approaches like we have. So we are open to have it if there is a possibility there, if we can assess the venture capitals or startups and we can think this is something we can finance. We are happy to do it.
Happy to hear. Thank you. And the next topic, the next question will be about LP base and source of capital. Since venture capital business it's a kind of marketplace, so you need like a supply side, capital, and you need demand side, like startups, teams, and companies which are like seeking capital to grow. And let's start with you, Daniel. So in Central Europe, what finally persuades LPs to allocate their capital to this class of assets?
Mm-hmm. Sure, happy to expand on that. So I believe, like we see in the Eastern European region, got boosted roughly about 10, 11 years ago when there was a European Union initiative called Jeremy, which was joint resources to micro-medium enterprises. And as part of this scheme, basically a lot of fund managers were able to start a fund with very little of own capital, and then also capital provided by the European Union. And this gave the opportunity to large institutional LPs, such as, for example, OTP Group, which is the main LP in our fund, to kind of dip a toe into this asset class to explore like how they could potentially diversify their asset allocations. They were already excited about the uncorrelated returns that venture can provide, but also, as we all know, like venture capital works along the power law. So, you either hit hard and hit high, or you can lose everything.
I think we need to explain in a couple of words to the audience what does it actually mean, this power law.
Of course. So essentially, I think a good analogy could be like a casino. So you make bets and like you lose 9 out of the 10, but you win so big on the 10th one that you don't really care about the 9 losses that you accumulated. So like portfolio construction is a tricky part of venture capital, I believe, because a portfolio will be good if you have fund return in it, and it doesn't really matter if you followed any kind of scientific approaches, but if you made just one right bet, then you already made a good fund and good return. So basically, going back to power law, like large part of your returns are only provided by just one investment that you made that returns.
Yeah, exactly, 2.5% out of your efforts, and you need to go through like 4,000 decks, and you need to deep dive into like 400 companies. You need to invest into 40 companies, and one company will cover all of your, hopefully, will cover all of your efforts. So this is the power law, and this is the market numbers. So it's not like.
So going back to your question, so I believe that this EU initiative, it gave a boost, like to start experiencing venture capital. And then it was kind of all these success stories like the UiPath, now the 11 Labs, that are names that all these LPs are familiar with. Some of them are users, power users of it. So I think we needed that initial push from, let's say, the EU, and then now it's traction that's attracting the LPs.
Yeah, thank you. Very, very clear and valuable comment. So, Karen, what do you think? What is your?
So yeah, LPs, that's the answer to this question, right? Who funds the scale? LPs are funding the scale, actually. It's not VCs. We just allocate. And I mean, that's
your race, and this is and this part of our job is I mean is almost or usually like forgotten, but it's being forgotten, but it is I would say that not the hardest, but it is as hard as find good companies.
Yeah, and I hope the casino analogy doesn't stick with some potential LPs. Otherwise, we'll scare that. Otherwise, what we are doing
usually companies are talking about. I mean, hardest to like raising funds and bloody investors. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, I mean, from Armenia's perspective, as I also mentioned in my answer of initial question, mostly it is privately funded. Like funds are mostly privately funded. But recently we had this notable kind of thing that Armenia's National Pension Fund invested in our fund. Actually, one of the pension fund managers, they did a very thorough due diligence for 1 year and 1 week. So we like always highlight this to show the depth of the due diligence they were doing, and afterwards they decided to invest. And I think this part of infrastructure maybe is as important as startups are, because you need to have this institutional money, you have to have public money, because if you look at, I don't know, countries' finance allocation, there are billions of dollars parked somewhere, and it's not really working for the economy, basically. So there are ways and, change of regulations, change of mindset, how you are going to allocate it into real sector. And recently we had this very essential change that pension funds can also directly come into companies' cap table. I don't think we have any examples yet, but hopefully we will have soon. And also the banks. Banks also are, as the saying goes, you sit on a lot of capital. And I agree on regulations, I agree on risk, but there are also, it's all about also will and mindset, right? If you feel that you will need to, allocate into real sector, like into startups, into innovation and technology, then you can find a way how you are going to do it, I think, within the scope of current regulations. And I think, honestly, I think it's little by little the time is coming for banks also to open up for that type of capital, right? Because like our vision at least is that Armenia as a country can develop and prosper through tech, and it needs to be the most essential pillar.
And it is happening already. It's not about the future. It is
absolutely.
It's about
it needs to be the most important pillar of the economy. And with these recent developments, with this infrastructure investment in AI factory, and it's going to continue. And next phase is this and that. It is coming and it is here. And every kind of resource needs to be thoroughly allocated to that as well. From challenges perspective, it's quite challenging to engage international LPs to Armenia, though in our fund we have LPs from I think 15 countries, but the main problem is awareness. So not everyone knows about Armenia as a tech country, as a tech nation, as a tech hub, and not everyone knows what's really happening here. So DigiTec is a really cool kind of occasion to showcase it. And by the way, congrats to DigiTec for doing this for 20 years. I think I think there are not many countries that can be proud of having a tech expo for 20 years, right? So it's meaning something. And we have to talk about it. We have to spread awareness. We have to also collaborate with internal capital, with banks, with public sector, etc., to have this kind of infrastructure that is pushing the innovation, basically.
Yeah, thank you. And I totally agree. So I was taught at Stanford that it was, one of the pivotal moments of the US VC infrastructure when pension funds were allowed to participate in venture capital movement. So yeah, and I believe it is very important. There is a lot of capital which is, locked inside like traditional instruments, and should be unlocked since nine out of 10 the most successful companies in the world were initially backed by VC, by VC's venture capital. So, and it is like it should work. It could work for like everyone, like for those companies, for all of the LPs, for capital, which is going through VC firms to like businesses. But the way of managing risks here is very different, obviously. So, Manuk, what do you think? What do you have to add?
No, I guess there are two reasons for some of the most important LP base not participating in the venture capital funding. One is structure, the other is mentality. The structural thing is that many of the typical investors, like, I don't know, banks, insurances, etc., they're not running very high profitability. That is comparable to average VC. Basically, like average VC, if you compare on a longer term, probably would turn 16% IRR. And return on equity for banks actually now probably for some banks is even higher than that. So why they would put the capital at risk if they can command higher return? That's a structural issue, but that's a cyclical. That's only one episode in a longer term. So you can't run that much of the profit within a very long-term perspective. That's a very episodical kind of a phenomena. And second is a mentality. When you're thinking about a corporate here in Armenia, you still, at the end of the day, you're still dealing one shareholder, still a person. It's not a corporate decision making. So many Armenian corporates are still run by like one-man show style. And then at the end of the day, you end up dealing with one person or few persons that are high net worth individuals. It's not like corporate decision. So it's again, it's also structural because they haven't gone through the cycle of becoming more systemic enterprises. That I think these are the two biggest impediments. I think, but we are on a very early days of transforming that as well. And my anticipation that in the next 3-4 years, probably that will also going to change.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. But one of the biggest, advantage of venture capital business that it is like counter-cycle investment instrument. I'm talking about interest rates, and I believe that this players who can participate, and I believe they should participate into venture capital industry. They just do not. They are not aware enough of how VC actually work. They are not aware even of like power law, paradigm and power law numbers. And I believe that is like our job to educate them and to educate governments and to educate like traditional financial institutions. Thank you. And speaking about power law and this, big numbers, like you need 4,000 decks and 400 deep dives and like four companies in your 40 companies in your portfolio, on average, approximately, and then you will hopefully find, the one winner. So it's obviously that for like, let's say, small countries, the only way is to collaborate on a regional level. So when I being asked about like Armenian VC business, and I have two answers. there is no VC business in Armenia, and the second, it is huge. Why? Because actually Armenia is a part of like much broader ecosystem, which includes like funds and players and customers, partners from all of the parts of the world, and I would like to cover with you guys, this part of our business, how to collaborate with like other players from other markets, including VCs, companies, go-to-market channels. So what do you think? So Daniel, since you are covering since Europe is not like a country but a huge amount of countries, so and this experience of collaboration, regional collaboration, I believe could be and should be very, very relevant for us.
Yeah, happy to expand on that. So I think coming from a smaller country, it is also an advantage because you operate on a small domestic market, which prompts you to think globally from day one. So there are some markets in Western Europe or Central Europe that are so huge in themselves that founders do not have the motivation to build something on the global level, but just to cater to domestic audience. So I think this can be used as a resource as well, like a source of motivation, so to speak. Coming from Eastern Europe, I think we do share a lot of, common history with Armenia as well, and then across the region when it comes to the Soviet times, and that makes it so much easier to connect with people across the borders, and having these so many small ecosystems with their own networks. I think it's a good ground for collaboration because actually you can leverage this through co-investments to tap into multiple local networks when it comes to business development and also hiring and geographical expansion. So I think what we see in our portfolio is probably the bridge to Western Europe or the bridge to the US. That's the more difficult jump than across the region because we feel that it is just so well connected. And this is something that I'm trying to bring to the Armenian ecosystem as well, to work together with Manuk, with Karen.
And we are grateful to you.
and try to invest in companies together and help them expand across Eastern Europe and from then jump to Western Europe and the US.
Thank you. Karen?
Our business would not exist without collaboration, I think, and in all levels. It's not just VC to VC collaboration. It's also this client relationships of startups. Sometimes you need to intervene or push it, or infrastructure related issues related to business, this and that. Overall, Armenia's ecosystem has been born and grown considering Silicon Valley principles, basically, because the kind of fathers of our ecosystem, if we may call them like that, they were coming from US mostly, and with that mindset, with that culture, etc., etc. That's why somehow it happened so that we are more connected to US VC infrastructure than Europe's VC infrastructure, which is strange from first sight, but that's why. Because we have that culture, and it's very essential, especially for pre-seed, seed, very early stage kind of investors, to create their own network, their own relationships with the next stage funds, because these guys are going to push the companies through in their next level journeys, right? So we can push to this level, and they can push further. So that's why it's it's the most essential part, I guess.
Pretty much everything was covered, but I will highlight a few things. I think beyond the diaspora connections, which is obvious, there are great opportunities to collaborate and partner with some of the very powerful sources of startups. In our case, we have had multiple collaborations with incubators, accelerators outside of Armenia, but more importantly also commercialization offices at top universities. And I think it is a very achievable thing for even from a VC from Armenia to be able to collaborate with those first tier universities where they spun out their startups. And this could be an interesting source of collaboration as well. And then particularly when you bring this power of the Armenian network, then becomes a very win-win situation.
Yeah, very, very reasonable. Most of the, let's say, sophisticated companies, they not most of, but a big chunk of them originated from universities. So it's very good. Thank you. It's a very good point. And VC business is about it's a non-zero-sum game. It's about collaboration. It's about building a network of trust. And in this sense, it is very similar to banking business. So what lessons learned could be transferred from banking to venture capital? What do you think?
I think banks have very good experience assessing the companies, so I think this is something we can share our knowledge with the venture capitals, but it's a little bit different business concept. For venture capitals, it already was mentioned, they are investing in 100 companies and hoping one will be the champion. And from banks, we are having a little bit different concept, but I think there are a lot of banks globally who have creating their funds to support kind of doing venture capitals or to support startups. And I think in Europe is a little bit different. They are using a lot of public funds like KfW, etc. to support the startups, to have a little bit more financing in the early stage. And it's easier to get in US, as mentioned earlier. And I think in Armenia it's more US concept, and probably a lot of startups also try to get financing in US than in Europe. But as I mentioned, we are very innovative bank, and we are looking and analyzing the market, and we see if opportunity there, and we can assess it. We think something we can be part of it. We are happy to do it. We are not only carved in the standards, so we can be part of this ecosystem and support the venture capitals as well. But normally, if you see it globally, the banks participate in very, very later stage when it's all about debt, etc. But I think it's the future for the startups environment with venture capital, banks, and public cooperation. So we will be part of it in any way.
So it's good to hear. Thank you. Thank you so much, guys. We are a bit out of time, and we need to wrap up. And I want to say, last words. I want to thank you first of all. Thank you for your experience and for your view on the business and on development of the ecosystem. And I have to say that I think that we have all the ingredients in place. We have ambitions, which is quite rare from my experience. And without ambitions, nothing works actually. So, and I remember when Alex shared his vision of big Armenian cloud 2 years ago, and for me it sounded absolutely crazy and undoable and like a dream and not more. And now we see what is happening. And it is, one of the vividest, let's say, example of the bar of ambition. And the second, Armenian culture is very resilient, and you need to be resilient, as Mika just said on the previous panel, that if you build something, a company, a fund, a state, you need a family, you need to be resilient, and resilience is obviously one of the strongest parts of Armenian culture. And the third thing I would like to emphasize, I'd like to mention, like last but not least, you need to know how to connect like points, because I mean venture capital and entrepreneurship in general is about connecting dots, and it is also part of Armenian culture. So I feel I'm sure that we are in the like pivotal moment of VC infrastructure here in Armenia. Not the first one, not obviously the last one, but one of the most important one. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Dima and gentlemen. Thank you very much for all your elaborations. This was indeed a very interesting discussion. What we've learned also from the previous session is that there's lots of accent on the ambition. You just mentioned about the ambition, and Mikhail from Pixart was also mentioning that along with optimism, we need to combine it with the ambition so that it works. Gentlemen, now take your seats. Yeah, you're free to take your seats. Thank you very much for all the contributions.